Today is Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. It's 7:25 a.m. I'm about to go for work, but I also have to do my daily English reading. The reason is for academic and knowledge based, and also to honing on my English capability. So it's a multifaceted endeavor. Here's an interesting article about the skin cells becoming its own whole organism. Let's take a look into it. Oops. This is from Science News. Never miss a discovery. Stay current with Stay Science News. Keep up with. All caught up. Yeah. Get caught up. Caught up. Stay current. News. Health and medicine. Frog skin cells turn themselves into living machines. So the frog cells became their own whole creatures. It's quite interesting find. We can apply this knowledge to something else, like a stem cell. A newly created xenobots swim and move particles around in their environment. Newly created xenobots swim and move particles around in their environment. Small clusters of skin cells taken from frog embryos grow into larger spheres called xenobots. Xenobots pictured that can swim, move particles, and heal themselves. By Laura Sanders, March 31st, 2021 at 2:13 p.m. Almost 10 months ago. Using blobs of skin cells from frog embryos. That's good. Another expression. I know the word, but I'd like to remind myself of the word blob. Yeah, like a witch. You're getting a blob using the ladder. Scientists have grown creatures unlike anything else on Earth, a new study reports. These microscopic living machines can swim, sweep up debris, and heal themselves after a gash. Scientists often strive to understand the world as it exists, says Jacob Foster, a collective intelligence researcher at UCLA not involved with this research. But new study published March 31st in Science Robotics is a part of liberating moment in the history of science. Foster says, a reorientation towards what is possible. In a way, the bots were self-made. Scientists removed small clumps of skin stem cells from frog embryos to see what these cells would do on their own, separated from their usual spots in a growing frog embryo. The cells organized themselves into balls and grew. About 3 days, balls. I thought the balls, testicles, but actually ball shapes. Okay, balls and grew. About 3 days later, the clusters called xenobots began to swim. Normally, hair-like structures called cilia on the frog skin repel pathogens and spread mucus around mucus. But on the xenobots, cilia allow them to motor around. That surprising development is a great example of life reusing what's at hand, says study co-author Michael Levine, a biologist at Tufts University in Medford, Massachusetts. What's at hand? Pathogens, repel pathogens, and repel pathogens, and spread mucus around. A swarm of xenobots, bright spots, swims around and pushes small particles. And that process happens fast. This isn't some sort of effect where evolution has found a new use over hundreds of thousands of years, Levine says, a Jewish. This happens in front of your eyes within 2 or 3 days. Xenobots have no nerve cells and no brains. Xenobots have no nerve cells and no brains, yet xenobots, each about 0.5 millimeter wide, can swim through very thin tubes and traverse curvy mazes, thin tubes, maze. When put into an arena littered with the small particles of iron oxide, xenobots can sweep the debris into piles. Xenobots can even heal themselves. After being cut, the bots zip themselves back into their spherical shapes. Zip themselves. Yeah, zipper. There's a trademark turned into a word. Zip themselves back into their spherical shapes. Scientists are still working out the basics of xenobot life. The creatures can live for about 10 days without food. When fed sugar, xenobots can live longer, though they don't keep growing. We've grown them for over 4 months in the lab, says study co-author Doug Blackiston, also at Tufts. They do really interesting things if you grow them, including forming strange balloon-like shapes. Xenobot is about 500 micrometers across millimeters, okay? 0.5 millimeter. Micrometers across, and is made of frog cells, even though it looks and acts nothing like an actual frog. Douglas Blackiston. It's not yet clear what sorts of jobs these xenobots might do, if any. Cleaning up waterways, arteries, and other small spaces comes to mind. That's good, creative. Cleaning up waterways, arteries, and other small spaces come to mind, the researchers say. More broadly, these organisms may hold lessons about how bodies are built, Levine says. With the advent of new organisms comes ethical issues. With the advent of new organisms comes ethical issues. Whatever possible is possible, cautions Kobe Lanes, a digital ethics researcher at the University of Melbourne in Australia. Digital ethics researcher. Digital ethics. Scientists like to make things and don't necessarily think about what the repercussions are. Ramifications, okay? Repercussions are, she says, okay, it's she. More conversations about unintended consequences are needed, she says. Levine agrees the small xenobots are fascinating in their own rights. He says, but they raise bigger questions and bigger possibilities. It's finding a whole galaxy of weird new things. A whole galaxy of weird new things. It's finding a whole galaxy of weird new things. It's fascinating in their own rights. The small xenobots are fascinating in their own rights. In their own rights. That's good term. Mr. Park, that's me. Pahk is beautiful, handsome, creative, powerful, potentially knowledgeable, and capable in his own right. Okay? But they raise bigger questions and bigger possibilities. It's finding a whole galaxy of weird new things. Questions, comments on this article, email us at feedback@sciencenews.org. A version of this article appears in the April 24th, 2021 issue of Science News. Citations: D. Blackiston et al. Means and others that appear on this article. Et al. That's good term. Et al. A cellular platform for the development of synthetic living machines, Science Robotics, published online March 31st, 2021, DOI 10/11/26, Science Bots ABF 1571. About Laura Sanders. Laura Sanders is the neuroscience writer. She holds a PhD in molecular biology from the University of Southern California. I don't have master's or PhD, but I would like to work in these biology and medical science in America when I retire from KT. Please contact me, Laura, if you need good help. Good hand. As a matter of fact, last night I had a dream that I was like appearing in a horrible act of experimenting people by some geeky guy, some cuckoo guy. It was terrible, but it provided me a good insight about human behavior. Terrible. Science for science. Ooh. Xenobot. So let me recite what I learned from this article. A whole galaxy. It's like finding a whole galaxy of weird new things. Okay. Repercussions. What else? I know all those expressions. Mr. Pahk is beautiful in his own right. They are interesting, fascinating in their own rights without other intervention in his own right. What else? What else I learned? Xenobot. The xenobot is fascinating. Embryos of 500 micrometers or half millimeters. Gash, embryo blob, gash, repair pathogen, spread mucus around, zip themselves back into life, repercussion. The small xenobots are fascinating in their own rights. At all. Gash, embryo, blob, repair pathogen, spread mucus around, mazes, Do you like a game of maze? Zip themselves back into life. Repercussion. Small xenobots are fascinating in their own rights at all. So that's it. But let's go over the article one more time to see if I can pick up other expressions. So there's a xenobot. Laura Sanders. Stem cells. Reorientation towards what is possible. Digital ethics. That's another good term. Digital ethics. Ethics. Tufts University in Medford, Massachusetts. I visited Tufts University Medical Hospital in Boston when I visited MIT and Harvard. Working out the basics of xenobot life. Cleaning up waterways, arteries, and small spaces comes to mind. Cleaning up waterways, arteries, and other spaces comes to mind. Cleaning up waterways, arteries, and small spaces comes to mind. I think. Instead of using I think, something comes to mind sounds much, much better. Okay? Cleaning up waterways, arteries, and small other spaces comes to mind. Raise bigger questions and bigger possibilities. They raise bigger questions and bigger possibilities. Thanks, Laura, for your interesting article. It was quite knowledgeable, and contacting you comes to my mind. Yes, I am perfect in my own right. Yeah, Xenobot, I'm still learning about the basics of Xenobot life. Yeah, I'd like to see the blobs and the questions they raise are bigger and possibilities are bigger. Yeah, maybe I can help you out with that issue. I'm not an expert on digital ethics, but I'm creative. Thanks for listening, everybody. This is Pahk and et al.